Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Ashley Thomas on the line, and she's founder and CEO of Bridge to Sports. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam, I'm so glad to be here. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, Ashley, first off, I love your background. I love that we match. Come on, Red. We're recording this in December of 2021. I see your red flowers in the background. Look
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you. Well, hey, it is that time of the year. We should be festive to, show thanks and gratitude. We've been in some tough years, but the reality is if we find things to be thankful for, it allows the life to be much better. And it is part of what I choose to do every day. For people who don't know, I am a wheelchair user, and there are a lot of things that can get you down, especially with COVID and all the shutdowns and parents homeschooling, and the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I think even for us at Bridge to Sports, we were proactive to not go into that poor us versus how do we save lives, and that became kind of our mantra through that really challenging time. But we should celebrate life. It is good. So yes.
And a celebration having you on the show today, and I'm excited to do a deep dive into Bridge to Sports and really how you're providing opportunities for those with physical disabilities. So we'll talk about that, of course, but we'll start this episode like we started them all with our Mission Matters Minute. So Ashley, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Ashley, what mission matters to you?
Having grown up with disability and often through the medical and a lot of opportunities in life, you were told no. So when I finally figured out how to, I said, we're going to find the yes. And so Bridge to Sports creates opportunities for youth, adults and veterans with physical disability to play sport. And that could be individually on a team, and it can be recreational, competitive. We've got some of our young people are on national teams. I was on a national team at one point, but it changes how you see life, and life is better when you can engage with others, and disability sometimes can challenge that. So the mission for me is creating opportunities for people to play and have fun through sport.
Awesome. Love bringing mission-based individuals on the show to really share why they do what they do, like what their passion is, like what gets them motivated. So great having you again on the show. So let's just start off with maybe for Bridge to Sports, like how did this come about? Like, how did you get this idea?
Well, as I shared with you, I was born with spina bifida. I was ambulatory when I was younger, but I eventually did go to a wheelchair, and I can go into a lot of detail as a child not participating through different things, or always having to be aware of your walking. And so you really couldn't really engage in the world around you because I couldn't feel my feet. I didn't know that as a child. There's so many things when you're young you are not aware of, and you don't know. And I didn't know. I didn't have feeling in my legs till I was in high school. Wow. And then I thought, that explains why I trip all the time and I fall. So there's things like that. But I have 3 children. I want to share that I've had a very good life. I lived in England for 7 years. So I had an awesome opportunity through my husband's job, took him there to experience different cultures and different ways of doing things. And when we came back to the States, just a little bit of history. I have been through, 6 hip replacements. Wow. And over 35 surgeries. I stopped counting because I found it mentally wasn't a good place to sit there and go, I've been this and this and this, and start going, what can I do? So I volunteered and worked at the local hospital here. In the spina bifida community, as well as the children's hospital. And I began discovering how I could be active, because when I finally went to a wheelchair, it became the tool that empowered me to be a part of life. I said I had 3 children. My son played football. He played in college. And I remember in high school sitting in the van outside the stadium with binoculars going, okay, I see what's going on out there. Yeah. My daughter was in plays. some of the places where I couldn't get in, but I said, I can
Mhm.
sew, I'll make costumes. So there were things that I did because I love my children. They were very much a
Mhm.
part of the world I was in. But then when I got a wheelchair, I said,
Mhm.
I have so much more energy. I don't have to think, and I can actually push and talk at the
Okay.
same time. This is amazing. So my daughter was in high school, and I said, do you want to do this 5K with me? I think I can do it. So she said, sure, Mom, we'll do it. Oh, God bless children, and they love their mothers, and they
Yes,
do
they
things
do.
they wouldn't do otherwise, maybe.
Hey,
Well,
adults too, we love our mothers. Go ahead.
yes, we do. And so I won't go into that. But I learned a lot of things. I learned that because I really wasn't part of a team, I wasn't part of give and take.
Yeah.
Um, I was not a good team member. And
Mm.
there were hills on this course. And I'd never done a 5K before. I
Mhm.
was told by the race director, you start, wheelchairs go first. And I
Yeah.
said, I was hoping I was going to follow in the back, like, let me please, I'm behind everyone. I said, I have never done one of these. They said, no, you start the race.
Wow.
Very commanding, which you have to be when you've got a
Yeah.
lot of people. So I said to my daughter, we have to start the race. So she said, all right, we got this, Mom. Well, it was a big hill. There was a police car there because they were going ahead. And for people who don't know, there's a
Mm.
camber in roads. They gently come down. And the sweet spot for a wheelchair is right in the middle because you roll even and it's better on your
Mm.
shoulder. So you're not like pushing really hard one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting here going, this car is in my way. And
Mm.
I said, they told me to go. The race started. So I had to go around the police car. And then I had to get in front of the police car. And the police car is going, get to the side of the road. And I thought, no, I will not make it. I've trained for this, but I will not make it. So
Yeah.
I am in the middle of the road. And he finally gave up on me because I said, no, I'm not getting over.
Yeah.
I have to stay here if I'm going to do it. So we're going up. I was totally not dressed right. I had never done a 5K. So whenever you go to races or thing and you see someone who's
Mhm.
out of order, be kind to them. It's probably
Yeah.
their first race and they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm overheating and my daughter's she's running up ahead and I'm saying, no, Joe, her name is Joanna. Don't
Mhm.
go ahead of me. Stay with me. So she faithfully came back. I'm overheating. I'm taking off stuff, going here. She's now running with this bundle of stuff and
Yeah.
we're going up our third hill. We get to the top of the hill. We come down. My arms are just aching, aching,
Mm.
aching, aching. And I just need a break. So I am taking advantage of that hill going down. My daughter's in the back going, Mom, I waited for you. You're not waiting for me. So it was an interesting piece because I learned a lot of what I didn't know because I didn't play sport. And how
Mhm.
are you a part of a team? I learned my daughter was very forgiving when we got off that. Oh, she was so mad at me. I will never
Yeah.
do this with you again. But, and I had to say, I'm so sorry, Joe. No, so you go through those little pieces, but because you love one another, you struggle through it and
Mhm.
you end up getting a better understanding because I wasn't a good team member, but it was kind
Yeah.
of the awakening of what the power sport and recreational sports can do for
Mhm.
people. And it's a world I never engaged in.
Mm.
The other part of this is I was with, 100 other people doing this 5K
Mhm.
and they were doing it for the love of running and
Wow.
exercise, and we were running, raising money for a good cause.
Mhm.
And they were high-fiving and encouraging, and to get affirmation from other athletes was so empowering for me personally. And I,
Mm.
again, never had been in that experience. So
Mm.
after we got through this, it totally changed my world. And I
Yeah.
tried to implement things through the systems I was in.
Mhm.
Um, and systems are there for certain reasons,
Mhm.
but it is very hard to break a system
Yeah.
because especially in the medical model, there's very specific things you're trying to achieve.
Of
And
course.
recovery, I mean, it is very much a box.
Mhm.
So I ended up going, well, I believe this will make a difference. And I kept going to the clinic and seeing all these children and at the hospital that had lost hope, parents who had
Mm.
lost hope. And I kept thinking, this can't be the right way to live.
Right.
So I ended up going, you know what? I'm just going to try something. I don't know how to run a nonprofit. I don't know what
Mhm.
to do. But we're going to try. And, God bless some of my friends who are still my friends today. Thank you very much. We sat around my kitchen table and began putting things together. My husband was a lawyer at the time. Well, he still
Wow.
is. But we are no longer married. But the reality is he put the bylaws in place. And so I had amazing support that way to begin putting an organization. And then I went to courses
Mhm.
to learn what the heck I was doing. I went to some adaptive conferences
Mhm.
and just began educating myself. But we started, and I want to say this to anyone who is out there, because I tagged a lot of disability groups in there.
Mhm.
Um, the world is never perfect, and you never have all you need, but it is
Yeah.
not the reason to not start. And I remember writing grants, and they said, "But you don't have a program." I said, "Well, I can't do wheelchair basketball without a sport chair."
Yeah.
So I have this amazing black and white book of the history of wheelchair
Mhm.
basketball. And I said, "All right, look at what these poor veterans are playing in. Our chairs are much better than this."
Yeah.
So I kind of got parents together. I said, "Look, guys, we're going to read this book. Our equipment right now is better than what these people played in, and we're going to start
Mhm.
without anything.
Wow.
And we will eventually get equipment because it's that chicken and egg thing."
Mhm.
And this is again what I want to say to everyone listening. When you go somewhere and you see somebody who isn't quite together,
Mhm.
go and put your arm around them and say, "How can I help?"
Yeah.
Be a part of our group. Let me teach you the equipment. Let me show you what you need. So, fortunately, here in North Carolina, there was an amazing guy, Dave Kiley, who's a multi Paralympian, and his
Mhm.
program was a few years ahead of mine. They do wheelchair basketball.
Mhm.
And he was one of my mentors. And he said, "Ashley, just come. We'll share our equipment with you." And it set a tone because we now in North Carolina, children can compete in track and field and
Mhm.
score points. Points. We were one of the first in the nation to do that. But we have a lending equipment program, and it makes me so happy when we have nothing left in the
Yeah.
warehouse, and it's all over the state. But when we talk about mission matters, I always like to bring it down to the person. Each one of
Mhm.
us matters. We can make a difference in the world that we're in, how we behave,
Yeah.
and how we extend kindness or um,
Mhm.
even grace. Because when we showed up, we didn't even have uniforms. And if you saw us today, and I want to encourage everybody,
Yeah.
go to bridge2sports.org. We just hosted another Sanctuary Youth Wheelchair Basketball tournament.
Mhm.
We have all the equipment. Our kids have uniforms that match. And it changes lives for them because they are now part of a bigger community. They're
Yeah.
challenging that mental side of disability, which, the brain really can knock
Mhm.
all of us. But if we consider that brain, no, I use a wheelchair, but I am not disabled. I
Yeah.
live life every day with limitations, but I do not live with disability. There is power in that. I am no longer limited by whatever limitations I have. And I've never met a perfect person.
Yeah.
And so the reality is we all have some sort of limit. And
Absolutely.
and I learned from other people, this brain thing that tells us what we can and cannot do is a powerful tool.
Mhm.
But I have found adaptive sports is one of the best tools to help the brain of someone with a physical disability to be able to go, "No, you won't tell me what I can and
Yeah.
can't do." So that's a little bit of how it got started. So it did get
What a
started.
Yeah, what a great story. Like, what it's amazing, it's inspiring, and I love when an organization or a business or an enterprise is started really out of a need or out of inspiration from a founder that just sees something that can be done a little better. As you mentioned, like maybe the box didn't fit quite well for you, and you're thinking about like different ways to do things. Now, you mentioned basketball as a tournament that you just
Yes.
recently held. I know there's multiple sports that you work with. I think over 10, 13. I mean, give us a little bit of a feel because obviously you've had much growth from those initial days. Give us
Yes.
a little bit more feel for like the programs and the programming.
Okay. Thank you. We do multiple disabilities. The other unique thing about us is we work with different types of physical disabilities. So we have pretty large visual impairment, low vision
Mm.
and visually impaired individuals. We have people with spina bifida, spinal cord injury,
Yeah.
cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, stroke, ALS. I mean, amputations, multiple
Yeah.
amputations. So the list goes on. And I think we're a little bit unique because a lot of
Mm.
programs want to stick with one type of disability.
Yeah.
And I know why it is a little bit easier, but when you have to advocate for change, what I have
Mhm.
found, and I probably might offend some people with this, but I'm going to
Mm.
say it anyway because I'm guilty. I was guilty.
Yeah.
I think with disability, it's very easy for us to go, my disability is worse. And the
Mm.
answer is no, disability is crap for everybody. And
Yeah.
there is no worse for anyone. Mental health is crap. I mean, and I
Mhm.
think when we start going, mine is worse than yours, we pigeonhole ourselves and it
Mhm.
allows us not to see the strengths in each other.
Mhm.
So I really felt like some of the disability niches, we all have
Yeah.
similar needs. And if we can see that, and then if we're advocating for access,
Yeah.
we have a larger impact because now we know, oh, stroke and power
Mhm.
chairs and manual chairs and amputees and pregnant women and elders. Oh, we need ramps to get in because sometimes
Mhm.
our footing gets off. Well, now we have a powerful group of people who can say, here's what we need, and let's
Yeah.
go with a smart design versus a limited design,
Mhm.
which frankly is ADA. So I might have offended a lot of people in that. But
Mm.
so I think one of the great things that we do, we help each other understand the needs of each other
Yeah.
so that, and in adaptive sports, you always need someone to unload things, pull things up. And there are times the amputees are helping unload the trailer because
Mm.
there are things hanging up on the wall I cannot get to. So,
Right.
you begin helping each other, but we lean on each other's strengths.
Mm.
And there's something very powerful for that. So, in light of that definition of who we serve,
Yeah.
what do we do? So we run year-round sports, and
Mhm.
we have blended disabilities in that. So we do archery and air rifle. We have some amazing equipment that we have. So if you cannot pull back a bow, we have assistance for that. If you're a quad and you cannot use your hands and your arms and your legs, we have
Yeah.
a sip and release um, gadget that
Yeah.
to shoot an air rifle and archery, all you have to do is this. And then we
Wow.
have a little tripod that even if your little movement is only this, you can move your air rifle or your
Yeah.
bow to hit the target. We also do cycling, and cycling is probably our most diverse group because we have tandem cycles, and that's typically
Mm.
for blind and low vision. And then we have recumbent. We
Mhm.
have the low riders. That's the group that are in hand cycles. And then we have uprights that may be amputees.
Yeah.
We also do wheelchair basketball. We do goalball, which is a niche sport. It's
Mhm.
specifically for low vision and blind. We have bocce,
Yeah.
which is for more profoundly affected muscular limitations, which could
Mhm.
be ALS, MS, MD, uh, more profound uh, cerebral palsy. I'm trying not
Mhm.
to use acronyms so people know what I'm saying. And then we also have a program for girls, Gigi, Girls Inspired, Girls Empowered, because I relate it back to my child as a
Yeah.
youngster. I didn't even think to ask the question because I easily accepted the no.
Mm.
And I think compliant children do accept the no. And so it's really for moms, sisters, daughters, cousins, aunts, any
Yeah.
female in the life of a girl, because they all need to see where the yes can be.
Mhm.
And I know I'm missing stuff and I don't have my list in front of me, but we do track and field, fishing, kayaking. But our website definitely has all that. But we do year round. So similar to
Mhm.
the world of sports, you've got your fall, winter sports, you got your spring, summer sports. So we similarly run sports like that.
Yeah.
So yes.
So team culture. So one of the things that you mentioned here, especially when people are, as you mentioned, amputees maybe helping unload something that maybe you can't because you're in a wheelchair. Like a lot of the things that you mentioned just throughout this interview so far are all related to team culture, in my
Mhm.
opinion. Can you speak a little bit more about that and just the importance of what that can do for someone?
Absolutely. Team culture makes you feel welcome. Team
Mm,
culture says you're part of a group. Team
mhm.
culture says we accept you where you are and who you are.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we did during COVID, we had to do some big changes, like many people did, but it turned
Mhm.
out to be probably one of our better changes. um, but if you came into our office today, half of the team are people with disabilities.
Wow.
And all of us have different, and all those groups I just described to you,
Mhm.
I believe leadership needs to reflect the people they
Mm.
serve. So you'll see that same sort of thing on my board, as well
Yeah.
as in my office, as well as our program cultivators who are out there doing the mission work every day.
Yeah.
Because I think we have to be the example that you can get into leadership.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest with you, I feel like as a person with a disability, I
Yeah.
can sit down and go, yeah, you're right. People are going to discriminate against you. People will look
Mhm.
at you and go, you can't. So how do we help you to rise above that? And I
Yeah.
probably one of my best compliments, someone once said to me, uh, you don't sit in that chair, you command it. And I said,
Right.
well, I appreciate that. I used to sit in this chair and I had to learn how to command it. But isn't that true with any leadership?
Yeah.
Is we have to teach it, we have to mentor
Mhm.
it. And so one of the things that we put in place is that we want our director of programs, our
Mhm.
program folks, our administrative team, the
Yeah.
board, we want anyone who comes into this program, we want you to see that you can get there
Mhm.
yourself or your daughter or son or your loved one, because I think that helps also push that team culture. Because can we individually do it? No,
Yeah.
but collectively, and we're very open here what our weaknesses are, and there's
Mhm.
so much freedom in that. I want to encourage the world to own your weakness and build the strength. That's one of my big taglines, because we all have them.
Yeah.
And it helps us to value the other members on the team, to go, oh, we need so and so to do this. And if that
Mhm.
so and so is someone who can only use one hand, but they are the best editor,
Yeah.
man, correct my spelling, please. And my pronunciate, or wherever you put your, I can't even, commas and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So I think, we are very comfortable with that. I think when
Mhm.
new people come in, they're like, what? Because we're kind of like, we're happy to say, well, no, I can't do this, but they can, but they're really
Yeah.
good here. And we just kind of own that, so that, if you need this, this is where you go. And we're not a big team, but we're extremely, I mean, we do a lot. And besides
Mhm.
the programs, we also do events too, major events, national events. So we have a pretty lean and mean team, and half of us are people with disabilities. And I personally think it's a strength, because we all,
Yeah.
through our limitations, have learned to think outside the box to accomplish what we're doing. And sometimes we find an answer that no one else would see, because we're trained to think a little differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an amazing story. And I want to, so I know there's some people watching this right now and they're thinking, first off, their minds blown just like mine. And they're excited about the mission, what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're affecting people's lives. And they're thinking about, how can they get involved? How can we get involved? So tell us a little bit more about your 360 club and really how people can get involved in the mission.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. So what our 360 Club is, it's really our monthly donor support. And in
Yeah.
a nonprofit, it is that funding that is what
Hmm.
we call unencumbered funding. So if you have to replace tires on a vehicle, you can
Yeah.
take that money and go and spend it. And so one of the goals that we have been trying to do is build up our 360 Club.
Hmm.
And it's a monthly donation every month. And we are
Hmm.
asking people to start with 30. And people go, why? Well, there are gateways. Whenever you do, and you'll know this, Adam. I mean,
Hmm.
anyone in business, we know these things. But there's a cost price point that if you keep it too low, it costs you to take the money.
Yeah.
And I am very proud to say our CFO, Mary Christie, is we are a platinum level on all the giving organizations. We run a very tight money and accountability in that. And so we track everything, and those gateway fees and everything else. So what we did is we figured out if we don't get 30, it doesn't give us money to use once, paying out all the expenses of cost of doing business. So 30 is the minimum, but hey, if someone wants to give 100 a month, we have some of our donors who do that. So we don't limit the top end of that, but it helps us to really take care of scholarships. I will say a lot of our people in the organization, and I will talk for myself. Myself is the best way to expose this, because I don't want to share other people's stories, because I really respect that and feel like it's their story to sell. But when you have hardware, a wheelchair, a prosthetic leg, a special needs van, I like to call my van. I finally had to go to a ramp van because I was having some significant shoulder issues. I'm aging, and it's just part of the joy of the journey. So it's like, doggone it. I didn't want one of those vans till I was 65, but had to get a little bit earlier. All of that is very expensive. So my regular day chair is $8,500. Insurance usually only pays $2,400. The ramp on my van is over $30,000. That system is. So the daily life of just the physicality that one needs. Everyone has a medical item on their budget. And for me, outside of paying for insurance, my budget is $15,000 a year out of pocket. So we know we don't charge big fees to be a part of our program. We do expect everyone to put something in. So we have a $200 monthly or annual fee for anything. If you pay $200, you can be a part of our events, you can go to every program we do. So part of the 360 also helps scholarship, because even at, what seems to be a nominal amount, we have people who can't afford that. So the 360 Club helps us to scholarship folks who can't do it. And then buy equipment. Sometimes we get a new person in and they need a different piece of equipment that we have. So it allows us to have flexible funding to go, we have this over here. We can go and take care of this. So the 360, and some people say 360, that's weird. Why? And I'm noticing others are using that now. Well, if you go to your math, 360 is a wheel and it's a circle. And most of all the adaptive sports we do somewhere has a wheel in it. And so we thought, that's a fun play on it. It kind of is a subtle expression of adaptive sports. It's not in your face. But the other thing is 360 is an annual commitment. It's an annual commitment. And 360, to me, it's a circle. It's a holistic approach, because grants don't take care of it. We have some amazing sponsors. But when you have certain grants and sponsorships, they're very much linked to a very specific purpose. And we are still here 16 years later because we honor those.
Amazing.
So it's the 360 allows us to have some flexible income to kind of move when we see, we need to go and get that piece of equipment. So I would like to invite everyone to be a part of the 360 Club. I think our website, you will post somewhere, but it's www.bridge2sports.org. And Adam, I would be remiss, sir, if I did not say, please, Adam, would you be one of our 360 Club members? I would be so honored.
Oh, I love it. And I love that you bring this up. And as you mentioned, by the way, we will have all of this in our show notes. We'll put it all on there 100%, because we want our audience to go take a look at this, and we definitely want them to get involved. And speaking of the 360 Club, and also of just the impact you're making in people's lives, maybe share a little bit about that, like the end result of what can happen. And you don't have to share anybody's name, of course, anything like that. I know we respect everybody's privacy, but I know you just have, you said 16 years later, you're still here. I mean, I know you've saved, or you've helped many individuals along their path. Can you share a little bit about that?
So I will. I'm going to do an old story and a new story. Coaching to me is where I always say to the program folks, it is the heart of the mission. If you guys have a need, I will find a way to take care of it, because that is really where lives are changed. So I'll give a little bit of statistical data.
Yeah.
So one of our core values for youth is to do 4 goal settings. When you come into program, we want you to think of an independence goal. We want
Mhm.
you to come up with an academic goal, because I believe disability doesn't define outcomes. Opportunities do.
Yeah.
But if you don't set yourself up to take opportunity, it will not be knocking at your door. So,
Mhm.
so I think grades really matter, and getting trained to do a trade or to go to college is impertinent now in the technical world that we're in. So it's a big deal for me. And I have 3
Mhm.
kids. They all went to school, and I think if I didn't hold that standard to the kids we serve,
Mhm.
it would be remiss. Then the team comes up with a team goal, what they're trying to accomplish for that season. And then the individual will come up
Yeah.
with a skill goal for that season. So, what I would like to say is in the last 6 years, 100% of our kids have gone on to college or tech school. We now
Wow.
have kids who have master's program and are teaching at universities. We
Mhm.
also have some of those who are on staff with us.
Mhm.
So I know the world, and sometimes with some disabilities, the medical model says they will never be able to
Mm.
academically achieve. And I
Mm.
just want to say to everyone who might be listening with a disability, don't believe it. I have not
Yeah.
found that to be true. Opportunity is what creates limitation.
Mm.
And, I don't want to get into all the theory of
Yeah.
development of a child, but, if a child is limited in their movement, we know
Mhm.
movement helps develop the connectivity between the right brain, left brain.
Yeah.
So my experience tells me it comes later, but it
Mm.
absolutely comes. And then by the time they're in high school, they are tracking with their peers.
Mm.
So don't give up, because and sport creates all that connectivity. That's the other beauty of sport. It helps the
Yeah.
brain to grow and heal. All right. So, but I had this young kid, and I found this often with our male counterparts. I think
Mhm.
by the time those hormones kick in, they start thinking, what am I going to do? So we, in high school, we like, what are you going to do? You got 4 years. What's your plan? How are you going to do this?
Yeah.
And this young man ended up saying, oh, I want to be a
Mm.
firefighter. Well, he was a little person, and he was a wheelchair user. And I will
Mm.
never tell anyone what they're doing. I will never say no. So
Yeah.
I said, that's so interesting. I said, I did not know you were an adrenaline junkie. I said, that's interesting. So I said, what about a call person? Because, man, and someone at that time had just saved
Yeah.
lives because they were fast. So that was 1 year. So now we're here next year, we're going through it again. And I said,
Yeah.
okay, what's our plan? And he wanted to be a chef. Well,
Yeah.
I know this as a wheelchair user, kitchens are not designed for me to cook in.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, who knows? Maybe he will be a brilliant chef. We don't know.
Yeah.
So we are very fortunately to be housed in Research Triangle Park. So we have
Mhm.
access to NC State, Duke, UNC,
Mm.
NC Central, and I can tell you whatever specific area of need you have, it's covered, and I am so grateful for that. But we
Wow.
utilize it. So we reached out to one of the engineering programs and said, can you design a small little kitchen that has a burner that's
Yeah.
at his level so he can cook? All right, so we got through that. Well, then the 3rd year, we're back again, and he had some medical issues.
Mm.
And I will say this, his parents
Mm.
said, you don't understand. I said, oh, I understand. I had surgeries as a child.
Yeah.
That was back when there was dictionaries and encyclopedias and no internet. And you know
Yes.
what? It was still expected for me to keep up. And that little
Yeah.
home teacher came for 2 hours a day, and it was expected I still had to keep up. So I said,
Wow.
I think I might understand better than you. And we
Mhm.
cannot let that be a buy.
Mm.
So then he thought he might like to do music. And this started going, okay, both of his parents were musicians. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, all right, we might now be kind of getting to the talent pool here.
Yeah.
So we ended up going back to the engineering school. They built what was called the Beatmobile. It had strobe lights, it had
Wow.
speakers, the all the mechanisms, dry ice. And so he started doing DJing for us. And time has gone on. His senior
Amazing.
year, he also wasn't our best student. And I had to not allow him to go to a tournament because he was not doing passing grades, which was a real flurry for everybody. But I only had to do it once. And his senior year, we were doing pizza after practice. And his mom said, so-and-so, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I don't think he would mind. I asked him to write a story because it's a powerful one. But tell Miss Ashley, and he was being cool. And I'm like, he'll get around to tell me. Just hang back. So after it was all over, I said, "What's the great news?" And he said, "I made the A honor roll."
Wow.
And this is a kid who struggled. And I said, "What made the difference?" He said, "I found my purpose." And I think that is the key. And when you have disability, it doesn't mean you can't. And you have to explore. And when someone says something that was totally, you would go, "You can't do that." Well, what about that was intriguing? And he now has his own company. He DJs us. He's been around some pretty impressive people.
Yeah.
And he always does our stuff, and we pay him. And it's really great to see that. So there's someone who's come full circle.
Yeah.
And then recently we have and this is a little different story, but it was a young person who didn't have half a brain and was not given opportunity. And now this person is on a wheelchair basketball team and is very articulate.
Yeah.
Is able to manage. Is she equal to her peers? No. But what I do know is give her more time and she will be, because it goes back to that developmental piece of opportunity creates outcome. And the medical said have no expectation, zero, won't talk, won't walk, all these things. And the truth is she is. She's got phenomenal parents, and it's never, I can't say we take all the credit. No, we don't. But when you can get in with your peers and you see others and you find acceptance, going back to that team philosophy, it does create outcomes. We also serve veterans. We did some quick shifting when everything shut down. We do a lot. We do a lot with veterans. And I remember saying to our team, I said, "Guys, if we do not come up with a solution, we're going to have suicides. So our mission now is to save lives. How are we going to do it?" And I'm very proud of our team. With fear and intrepidation, we came up with a really strong COVID policy. And we have been running in-person programs for 18 months. And thank God, with no COVID outbreak. So I can affirm wearing masks, washing your hands, going back to basic cleanliness, and then honoring, if you think you've been exposed, don't come in. We work with university students. We said, look, we have at-risk people. If you think you've been exposed, you're out for 14 days. And people honored that. And we have not had issues. And we've had veterans who, through different things throughout the year, they say, "You guys saved our lives." We have a virtual event program that we designed for them because we have people all over the country who can't be here. So we did think outside the box, and we do change lives every day. But I think seeing youth and veterans feel that they have purpose and value and they can find their purpose is what really is the magic that we do. And it's a joy to be a part of that.
What an amazing story. I mean, I'm just so happy and thrilled to bring this to my audience, especially during the holidays. So we're recording this again in December of 2021. And just, the giving spirit, like all the things that are going on. And obviously, this is a year-round need. And I'm really excited about you adding to the model the 360 Club and really allowing people to stay involved year-round with this. So that being said, I know we gave it once, but I do want to revisit that one more time. First off, it's been great having you on the show, but if somebody's listening to this and they do want to get involved and they do want to follow up, what's the best way for them to connect with you and your team?
So the best way is our website. Brad does a dynamic job. It has a ton of information on there, and it's simple, but it's www.bridge, BRIDGE, the number 2, Sports, SPORTS. Don't forget the S on the end. And we are a .org. So remember, we're an organization, .org.
Fantastic.
Bridge2sports.org.
And we'll put all of this in the show notes because I definitely want my audience to go check this out and to connect and to support. And Ashley, I just want to say again, it really has been a pleasure having you on the show today, and we're honored to share your story and to really just spread your mission and passion for what you're doing and helping these kids really succeed and have a bigger vision, like keeping the hope alive. Like that story that you told about the individual who now has a DJing business. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, it's just such an amazing thing to see, like the commitment and then year after year going back and like being supportive and like all the different things that you've done and that your team does. I know this isn't
Yes.
done alone.
Mm-mm.
So shout out to your team, right? Because I'm sure
Yes, absolutely.
they're doing they have their hands full too as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right,
Awesome.
Adam, I'm gonna tease you one more time. I'll be looking for your donation, sir.
Awesome. I love it, Ashley. I love it. I'm excited about everything that we've talked about today. And to the audience, by the way, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based entrepreneurs and individuals and experts coming on, and we don't want you to miss a thing. So definitely stay tuned in, hit that subscribe button. And Ashley, until the next time, it really has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Adam, and happy holidays, and wishing you great success in 2022.